All right, we're ready. Let me grab the mic here.
Can you guys hear Ebony and Ivory in the background?
No, not really.
Too bad. Sounds good right now.
I mean, it's kind of far off in the distance.
Yeah.
It's like gentle elevator music playing in the background.
It's nice, yeah.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show, and so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, live from the Denver airport, it is Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one green, white, checkered hating podcast. Mm-hmm. I am Brian K., and with me, as always, is Rob and Ashley. Folks, how are you doing this week?
I'm good, man. I'm just sitting here, like you said, in the Denver airport. I'm sober as a priest on Sunday, and that's not usually how I do this show. So this is a very new and raw experience for me, but I'm doing okay. How about you, Ashley?
Well, good. To be fair, we are recording this before noon Eastern. So if you were, not to say, you can't have a drink before 10 a.m., Rob, but, it would be a little early.
I thought about it. There's actually some pretty good I was saying this to you guys earlier. I love the Denver airport. Mm-hmm. Decent food here. It's actually kind of affordable, all things considered.
Mm-hmm. Is there an Applebee's in the Denver airport?
I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna move over there. We're gonna look this. We'll get back to you on that. But
okay.
You may hear some flight information pop in here. So if you're listening to this podcast, Mario. They've been searching for this motherfucker all morning.
There is a Applebee's in the airport.
Mario, please get to your flight.
Get your ass over. Is it Terminal C?
I can't fucking tell by this.
I might have to call you guys back in a little while. We'll get some mileage here in the show, and then if there is an Applebee's, I'm going to haul ass over there. So we'll work that out. But yeah, I'm doing good. Spent the weekend in Albuquerque with my family, and actually I think I watched all of about 5 minutes of racing this entire weekend. I was at the PBR all weekend, the Ty Murray Invitational, it's a killer event. Colton Fritzland getting I think it's like second major series win or something like that. So Good for him. Yeah.
Was Bodacious there? Is Bodacious retired? Bodacious?
No,
Bodacious dead.
Yeah, it's been dead for a long time.
Oh man!
How dare you?
I found a PBR Tour T-shirt the other day in the thrift with I don't know what bull was on it, but it was too small for you, or I would have gotten it for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a bull. That sounds like a bull name. Too small for you.
Well, it
was a killer event, man. Like all PBR events are fun, all rodeos are fun, but if you get to go to one in Albuquerque, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. It's definitely my favorite sporting event I've ever been to. It's consistently awesome. So, yeah, I recommend it to anyone listening to this. Go check that shit out.
I can guarantee it was more exciting than about 75% of what went down at COTA this weekend. So you didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah, judging by the text I was getting from you guys, it seemed like it was pretty vast and wide open, boring.
Yeah, I mean, the truck race was really nothing at all to write home about. There wasn't really much actual racing. There wasn't much passing. I mean, there was a little passing, but there was just nothing interesting that happened. The Xfinity race was a little bit better. There were some killer moments, and AJ ended up coming home with the win again, which didn't really surprise anybody. One of these weeks, my bets on Creed are going to pay off. He's been so close, but just gets involved in some shit. One of these days, it has to happen.
Yeah, you better keep your fingers incredibly tightly crossed for that one, because it doesn't seem like that's coming for a while. But kid just can't catch a break, or he gets in his own way, or a combination of the two. And yeah, I don't know, man. He
got the ass knocked out of his car in this race, so it wasn't his fault. But then speaking of drivers getting the asses knocked out of them, the COTA race at the Cup race on Sunday, I mean, that was a whole shit show at the very end. Tyler Reddick really it was his race to lose all weekend. He started off being like the fastest car in practice, and he got second. He didn't get the pole. He got like second, I think,
started
right?
Second, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, led most of the race. Was holding off everybody on all the final restarts. The lack of stage cautions was a very welcome change. That definitely changed the race, I think, both as a fan and for the drivers. It made fuel strategy a huge part of the finish, and it would have really been a good, interesting finish until I think it was Brad
K.
out, and that just caused this chain of multiple green-white checkers that Tyler really held him off every time. He couldn't be beat on the restarts. So it was really, he at least took home the win, but it was just an absolute shit show other than that.
Now, on your little betting website, if there's a bet for Brad K to spin out on a road course race, you need to take those odds.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the prop bets are not that deep.
Barstool might do that, but
I'll have to look into
shit
that.
They do. But no, you don't see anything like that on whatever the hell, DraftKings or FanDuel. That's the one I've been using. Yeah. They hand out free credits, by the way, like a motherfucker. So if you ever want to spend someone else's money and prop gambling has just become legal in your state, check out FanDuel because they'll let you get away with some shit on there. So
we got promo codes, folks. Hit us up.
That's right. We do actually. Yeah, this whole podcast is just a way for us to get bonus bucks off of you guys becoming degenerate gamblers. So.
Yeah, I'm still waiting in Georgia for it to become legal.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely changes your weekends. That's for damn sure.
It does. It makes a race apparently what I mostly missed. I watched the highlights, and it's funny, like NASCAR actually put together a highlight reel that I watched to get situated for the show here, and they managed to make it even clunkier and more terrible than a broadcast with normal stage breaks. So I felt like I got the full regular NASCAR weekend experience. So Jesus, they gotta get somebody better than the interns they got. No offense if you're listening out there, but man, whoever pasted that together came home from the Beaver or something and just pounded it out real fast. So. But yeah, man, I hate to see these finishes, man. Especially when the whole world is watching. And, who really cares? You know what I mean? What people who aren't NASCAR fans think. But at the end of the day, like, when you're sending it like 6-7 wide into a corner that can only accept like 2 lanes and everyone's just slamming into each other like a fucking street stock race, it's just, I don't know. I don't fuck with that. I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, a lot of conversations have been had this season about respect and drivers not giving any to anybody and just barreling through people. And I mean, that was on full display at the very end of that race. And, you saw Suarez getting pissed at his teammate and Alex Bowman. And, Denny had a whole rundown of everybody who fucked up in the race and what they did wrong, which I thought was interesting.
A list of people he's never going to get back.
Yeah, basically.
Ryan Reese was pissed off. A little fucking church boy Ty Gibbs sending him into Zion. Yeah, that was. I saw enough of the race to get pissed off about that. So.
Yeah, it was a race. I'm glad it's over. That's our next to last trip to Texas in NASCAR this year, at least for Cup, right? Like, because they only had one Cup race there. So that ends it. Although next week, where the hell are they racing in Texas? The Xfinity and trucks are.
The trucks are there with
the trucks.
IndyCar.
IndyCar is running at Texas Motor Speedway, which is again like. Another track that doesn't tend to get high marks from many people, especially for IndyCar, since they lowered the banking in 1 and 2 and they threw PJ1 down on it to fix it. That completely has fucked the IndyCar race, and it ends up being a processional. But I don't know, anytime cars are going over 215, 220, I get excited. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, man, I don't know.
We've also got exciting ass Richmond to look forward to, so that's a whole nother conversation we'll have at the end of the show. But
I gotta say with COTA, just one more thing in closing. Like, this is just my opinion on it in general. I know people like it; it's a beautiful facility, but if the lap time is going to be over 2 minutes, I don't think NASCAR really needs to go there. That's just my 2 cents. Doesn't seem like a good usage of time, in my opinion. But
I mean, the track had its moments where there was some decent passing and some good racing. I'll give it that, but
that battle with Tyler Reddick and William Byron was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
That was clean racing. That's what you want to see, and it just gets overshadowed by this
the clown
figure eight
show
clusterfuck. Yeah.
It was the same thing too with even Kyle Busch at the end. Like, he raced him very clean, and there was all respect given between the two of them. So it was good, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about it. Oh, we didn't talk about the ringers at all. None of them really did all that well. I think Kimmy ended up with, was it Kimmy or Jensen that got the best finish?
I think it was Kimmy.
Yeah, I mean, he was up in the top 5 at the very end, but that was kind of seemed like a cycling through pit stops, cautions type deal, and he ended up farther back at the end. He ended up with the top 20, but all those guys,
he got shuffled out in one of those restarts, I think, is what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think those guys were saying they didn't really know what they were in for. It's like, motherfuckers, like, you guys, NASCAR's been around a long time. Like, you should know that it's going to be a lot rougher of a race than anything you've ever experienced. So
I thought the interview that Jensen Button gave afterwards was interesting, talking about the heat exhaustion. He said that he had to come into pit road multiple times and just like stop for a minute to get like water and ice and cool off before he could go back out and continue.
Yeah, well, you know how it is.
He said he almost quit. So
in England, it only gets about 65 degrees in the middle of the summer. So
that's true.
That's got to be tough with that Texas humidity, and it's just getting started down there. But I would imagine if you're not in race shape, and especially if you're not used to driving essentially a GT car like that, then the heat is gonna fuck with you pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jordan Taylor looked pretty good for a while too, but I think he was probably the most vocal about not enjoying his time there, just because the racing standards are so dog shit, which I agree.
Yeah. Which is funny because I want to say, I think Dale Jr. is like, this could be his launching point into Cup cars. And it's like, I don't know about that. I mean, we'll see if they ever get him on an oval and see how that goes. But I can understand, I mean, that he's just an IMSA driver and the cars are at least somewhat similar now, more so than they ever were in the past. So I can see where people might want to make that leap. But
I guess my question, like, I don't know if I have an opinion on this or anything to offer, but like, change the racing standards. Like, you don't want to over penalize people or create this nanny state situation where everything gets a penalty and there's track limits and etc. And but also at the same time, like you're not going to get rid of the point system, which is what is the root of a lot of this. I just don't know what to do or what NASCAR can even do to make this better.
I think really just more immediate penalties. I mean, don't wait till after the race and penalize them points or money. Penalize them right then. Park them for a lap. Send them to the tail end of the longest line as a warning first. Like, there's plenty of things that have happened in the past that you could change and add to the sport now as far as rules go that aren't stepping over the line and aren't like, well, how are they going to judge this? Like, there's clear ways to do it, I think.
For sure. But I think when you look at COTA in particular, like turn 1, like, what are you going to do? Just like, you're going to post 15 cars because they all decided to stuff it into one space? Like, it's not that way at most tracks because easy to police. Most road courses are easy to police and you don't see that. But COTA is designed for that sort of thing. So how do you can't just start throwing penalties out, because that's
especially, I mean, there's accidents that happen. I mean, Larson did it last year. Bubba did it this year where they got way too hot into a corner and ran into somebody.
Oh, yeah. Bubba had a big one.
That was a broken oil line. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he that wasn't his fault, which I thought that his reaction was kind of a bummer, too, because it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Well, he immediately, anytime he fucks up, whether he actually fucks up or not, like, he's incredibly hard on himself. I feel like that's both an issue he has about himself and also maybe a way to deflect a little bit of there's those announcements again. Maybe that's a way to deflect criticism from all the haters he has, like, well, at least I know I fucked up, guys. You can't shit on me that bad.
I mean, he's been very vocal about his struggles with mental health and depression, so
yeah, for sure. And
I
think we all know about that.
That sucked to see, though, because a lot of things are Bubba's fault, I think, but especially like the in-car stuff, but this certainly wasn't. And to see him come out and say something like that, it's like, I understand like trying to deflect and fueled people, but I don't think that's the way, so I hope he he's able to, at some point find a way to take a breath and not blame the entire world on himself.
And it doesn't help
his
when
fault,
the Fox cameras are in your face the second you get out of the car, like praying that you give them clickbait. So
exactly. And Lord knows he did. Speaking of which, I want to take a quick little visit over to Kenny Wallace's world here. He posted one of his what is it called? Kenny Wallace is angry. I hate Kenny Wallace show. That's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah, what was?
I think it was Kenny Wallace hates things. Maybe that's the first thing that's popped into my head.
Well, this is the Kenny Wallace show. He posts this, and this is proof positive, y'all, that he is just fucking with everybody. He's just fucking with you. If you think anything that Kenny Wallace says is direct, then you're sadly mistaken. He posted this video on YouTube. The Kenny Wallace show was like, who should replace Bubba Wallace? And the engagement, hang on.
On flight 5013, and you're headed to Phoenix on 2482. We are waiting for you here at gate C56.
Oh, y'all hear that? You better get your asses over there. Y'all gonna get stuck in Denver.
She sounds pretty serious.
She is serious. Yeah. That's the kindest angry gate engine I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, Kenny, he posted this thing on YouTube saying, in the title of the video is, who should replace Bubba Wallace? And of course the answer is no one.
Right.
You get a psychologist to help him out. But, no one ever watches the videos, and the comments for that,
No.
I would just invite you guys to just take a quick little wade through that cesspool if you want to.
Yeah, I took a couple glances at the comments, and then I had to just see myself out.
My favorite one was somebody suggesting that Matt DiBenedetto take his seat.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. Folks, but let's get another truck driver who can't hack it in cup to take over for Bubba.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea.
Great idea. That's the one McDonald's can get behind.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
So does that kind of lead us into our DARF of the week chat then? Since Kenny definitely he baited a lot of the DARFs to come out who just were ignorant and didn't want to read.
Oh yeah, he's out there laying traps from his little boat, and he's lobster fishing out there, at the cages and shit. But actually, my DARF of the week this week, it was actually a couple of them. The main one, of course. Actually, no, we're going to start with my secondary one. I don't remember what this fucking guy's name was, but he goes on Twitter and says that anyone who uses the term DARF is a pussy. Did you like that one?
I can't remember what that was in reference to.
I don't either, but it was out of pocket, and I took offense to that.
It's a personal attack.
It's a personal attack on me specifically, and I don't take that from people who probably haven't, seen one, being a pussy in a long time. And I'm assuming this is this basement dwelling moron. Fuck that guy. But my real DARF of the week is a guy named Craigster on Twitter. And
I'm sure that's on his birth certificate.
No, absolutely not. But Craigster, I bet you that's his Christian name, Craigster. He was really not thrilled with the way Kurt Busch handled the call at the end of the race. Of course, that was probably the best part of the entire broadcast. Just him watching Tyler Reddick in what should be his car. Because make no mistake, I think he's under a 2-year contract. He should be driving this year if it wasn't for his injury, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's watching the guy who replaced him dominate a race. And, Kurt is still heavily involved with 2311. He's a big part of keeping that organization moving forward, and with setups, with the psychological end of things. Maybe he needs to talk to Bubba a little bit more and calm him down. Actually, that's kind of a funny picture. Kurt Busch giving somebody advice on how to relax. But he just, it's one of these moments on a broadcast where Kurt Busch is tearing up and clearly enjoying this moment, and it's almost, if it can't be him, at least it's his guys. And how pure of a moment was that?
Yeah, you can't script that shit.
But Craigster on Twitter, he fires at Mike Joy only for whatever reason. It's like, Mike Joy, you need to remind your guest announcers, particularly Kurt Busch, that favoritism in the booth is usually a no-no. His fawning over and over about the 45 was nauseating. The fact that he drove the 45 means nothing to most viewers. Now that's like 3 bad opinions. Right there. You guys want to? What? I mean, I know that pissed you guys off too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think NASCAR. I mean, obviously, we can all remember the Dale Jarrett '93 Daytona 500 win and how just iconic of a moment for the sport that was. I mean, it was just so emotional and beautiful to see. And granted, if that was happening every year, if you had a guest announcer in the booth having those moments, go back to 2001 with DW calling Mikey to the win. Like, it's okay to have that moment once in a while. And I think the Kurt calling Tyler to the win was another one of those moments. Yeah. If Dale Jr. was pulling that shit every week in the Xfinity booth, it would suck. But I think having those moments once in a while and letting people have those emotions while calling a race, I think that's totally fine. And there's other examples in other forms of motorsports too. Like, it's not just a NASCAR specific thing. Yeah.
But I mean, just the whole point of having Kurt Busch up there is that he's a current driver. He's still under contract to be a driver. Mm-hmm. He's ingrained with this team. And I think you said it, Truelove, Chase Elliott was also focusing on the Hendrick drivers because that's his organization.
Yeah.
The reason you bring in these guys is because they have current knowledge. And, of course, Kurt's going to be emotional. But, this is a dumb opinion. My favorite response on here is the top tweet here. Horrible take. Where were you when Ned Jarrett was crying when Dale Jarrett won the 500? And then Craigster responds, that was a father commenting on his son. And I'd like to point out, do we know that Tyler Reddick is not Kurt Busch's son? Do we know about that? I got to be honest with you. I'm trying my hardest not to just lose my shit here because I want to scream and yell about this guy, but I'm literally surrounded by children. So, but yeah, Craigster, you're my for the week. I hope you get food poisoning over at the Applebee's here in Terminal C and you miss your flight to Cortez, Colorado, wherever the hell it is you're going. So that's your reward for being my Darf of the week.
Well, that's Darf of the week this week, and it turns out we actually got another listener question. Who wants to? A
couple of great questions too. Yeah, we love it when you guys reach out to us and you ask our opinions, especially when they're really thought about from our buddy here, and I'm gonna have to find that.
I got it pulled up if you want me to read it.
You got the best voice on the show, so you should probably just
stop it. Get out of here with that. All right, well, I'll read it anyway. So let's see here. Question for the week, actually, too. Question number 1. After the fuel mileage anxiety towards the end of the race, can we all agree that it's time to end stage breaks? I think we can all agree it's time for this announcer lady to shut the fuck up. That's what we can all agree on.
Yeah.
That's her. I don't know if you heard that was her telling Craig to go fuck himself. Craigster. Let's try that again.
Yeah, let's do that one over.
one more time. After the fuel mileage anxiety towards the end of the race, can we all agree that it's time to end stage breaks? That's question number 1. And question number 2 is, I'm personally a fan of the Gen 7 car from a looks performance standpoint, but do you feel like it's helping the quote-unquote show on track or hindering it? How's the perception been from those at the races? That is from Jesse. Looks like he's a Northwest NASCAR fan.
Oh, yeah, Northwest. So a guy who goes and gets rained on at Portland, I would assume. So when the Xfinity Series goes up there, that's actually a place I'd like to go, even though I talk shit on road courses. But thanks for writing in and asking that. You guys, I guess I'll kick it off here with that first question. I hate the stage breaks. I think, from what I can tell, it helped the flow of the race. I think ending stage breaks everywhere would be a great idea. That way it invites the old school strategy back in. I do like points being administered for that is the best thing that NASCAR has done in a long while to spice up the show, because it really does give something to race for the entire time and not just ride around. So I think that's great. Again, I didn't watch the full race, so I'm just assuming based on what I've seen, but everything I've heard, other than the fact that Fox is taking their breaks just as normal, even though there were no like winning a commercial. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, they have an automatic button they push.
Yeah, that timer's it's rolling. But yeah, I think that's a good idea everywhere. What do you guys think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a welcome change. It brought a little bit of the old school strategy back to it. I hope it's something that they change for every race. I think probably the one hard selling point would be the fact that it would change commercial breaks a bit. You do lose that full brake during the cautions. But other than that, I'm sure there's other ways they can figure out how to, get more ads on our screen without having to, have 2 stage breaks. But no, I loved it. I really hope they make it a permanent thing, not just at road courses, but at every track, because I think it'd be good.
I agree. What do you think, Truelove?
Well, I personally am a fan of the stage points. I mean, I feel like that should never ever go away.
That part is totally fine. Let those exist.
I mean, after watching Sunday's race, I can agree that the brakes could probably go, but the points need to stay. But when they first introduced it in 2015, I think, I feel like we needed those stage breaks with the type of racing that was going on at that point. Like, it was fucking mind-numbing at some of those tracks.
I disagree to a certain extent, but you're right. Like, at that point, what else can they possibly do other than take away downforce and give more horsepower?
Yeah.
They weren't going to do that. So.
No, they were desperate for something.
Yeah. And what was question 2? The cars, right?
Do the cars help the action on the track, basically? Which I think. I mean, I think right now it's kind of half and half. It seems like it definitely made intermediates way better. Short tracks and road courses, not so much. I think, the aero is one part of the package, but I think the fact that the guys are running way smaller motors and don't have the power to pass is another issue that I don't think they're ever going to actually fix. So the aero stuff is just kind of one part of the equation, but
the ability to downshift, and grab a gear in a corner when you get crossed up, and just kind of pedal away. That was the big issue at Martinsville between all the downforce and, again, like you're able to get speed by downshifting in the corners. So that's something that wasn't around before when it was, a 4-speed. Now you got the 6 gear? Or do they only go to 5? Is that what it is?
They go to 5.
Yeah, the 5-speed sequential, it just gives them a little bit more play in that regard. So that hasn't helped the show. I know that. It's killed places like Ridge. Even New Hampshire, which is always a bit processional, but that wasn't great. I gotta say, seeing the cars in person and hearing them and just the way they look and the roar of it, good Lord, they look amazing. Like, I remember the first time I ever saw those cars was at Martinsville and getting up close there in the little pre-race thing on the front stretch and getting within a couple feet and getting to take a good look at them. I was about as excited as I could be until the race actually started. It's like, if these things race half as good as they look, we're in for something special here. But unfortunately, it hasn't been the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cars look fine. I still hate the wheels. I really don't like the wheels at all. And I've gotten used to the number change. It's fine. I mean, I still wish it was the old way, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the couple races I went to last year were fine. They weren't awful. They weren't the best races I've ever been to in my life. And hopefully whatever I end up seeing this year will be good. I definitely plan on going to Michigan, so I'm excited to see how that race pans out. But the rest of them, who knows?
It's a new guy.
We have begun the boarding process at gate C67. Once again, that's all Southwest passengers traveling on plane number 6010 with services to Fort Lauderdale.
I gotta pause it for a second anyway. Hello?
That's from Fort Lauderdale, huh?
The worst airport I have ever been to in my entire fucking life.
Really? Fort Lauderdale?
Yes.
No kidding. I've never been there.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't just like my hometown bias, but the Albuquerque airport is amazing.
What time are you guys open till today?
I don't think I've been to that one.
Unless you're going there, you probably haven't. It's not really a place to connect
through. I'll probably shoot out that way this afternoon then.
I think I had a layover in Phoenix
thank you very much.
time. That was a nice airport.
Sky Harbor, yeah, that's pretty good.
Sorry, I'm back. The crematorium was calling to tell me my cat's ashes are ready to be picked up, so I had to deal with that real quick.
Jesus.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, that's always a fun call to take.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Jesse.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has anything to say about that, but I don't know. The car's fine. Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully,
I mean, it's still early. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, they got a few more years to get through.
It's true.
I will remind our listeners though that we are not racing experts. Feel free to ask us goofy questions. Feel free to ask us, about your least favorite drivers' drinking habits, or
get weird with it.
Seriously.
If you've got weird questions like that, please send them our way, because I'm happy to answer those, or at least try to. All right, so I guess now that the question of the week is done, now we go to the video of the week segment, which I guess this one, it sounds like I'm the only one who is fully prepared this week. Which again,
you're on your own, buddy.
This week, we were running a little bit of a loose ship this week. Rob was out of town. I was still, mourning my dead cat, as you could tell from the phone call I just got.
Now we got to leave that whole bit in.
Yeah, go ahead, leave that right in. But I, however, made sure that I watched the video of the week not once but twice to get all the 2,600 words of notes that I have about this week's video. But this week's video, I would say this is in the same realm as the monster truck video last week, in the sense that this is a callback to my childhood and the mixtapes my stepdad would make to me. This week we're watching the 1989 Mickey Thompson Off-Road Championship Series, racing from Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not familiar with Mickey Thompson and the Off-Road Series, so Mickey Thompson himself was a racer and a racing engineer. He was involved in drag racing, IndyCar. He helped promote off-road racing like the Baja 500 and 1000s. And he created the Mickey Thompson Off-Road Series, which is kind of like a stadium off-road truck series race.
Yeah, absolutely legendary series as well.
Yep, this series ran from 1979 to 1996, and in the middle of that run, Mickey and his wife were murdered by a former business associate, and that was an unsolved murder for almost 20 years until finally they found all the evidence they needed to convict Mickey's former business partner. But this race takes place in 1989, a few months after his death. And this fucking guy.
This guy gives no fucks about Mickey Thompson.
No,
don't leave your bags. Care. Don't leave your bags unattended, though.
I mean, come on, y'all.
That's why they got Mickey. Actually, not to cut you off here, but I can't. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the name of the documentary about that? Maybe it's just like a television show. There's a couple of like ID network type shows about Mickey's murder.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm on his Wikipedia right now, and there's nothing that pops up. But I know I've seen at least one or two little documentaries on YouTube about him. So if you just look up Mickey Thompson on YouTube, that's one of the many things that'll come up. Yeah,
that in itself is a fascinating story. So.
For sure. But 1989 stadium truck racing, it was on the upswing. I mean, this year, the Nintendo arcade game, Ivan Iron Man Stewart Super Off-Road debuted, and this was one of my all-time favorite games, and one of the reasons why I was into this type of racing as a kid. It's to really describe what stadium truck racing is, since it's kind of hasn't been anywhere near this level of popularity in the last 20 years. Think motocross, but with trucks. That's probably the best way to describe it.
I guess the modern day equivalent would be Robbie Gordon's Stadium Super Trucks, but that's more dedicated circuits they bring it to.
Well, that I was going to get into that later on, but we might as well mention that now. So, I mean, Robbie Gordon, this is Robbie's third appearance as a video of the week driver. And this is before he ever got into racing cars. He was big into off-road racing long before he ever got into any sort of, oval track car or Indy car or anything like that. He's already a multiple-time Baja 500 winner. He won the points championship this year and actually won multiple times in the Mickey Thompson series. This was right around the time he was negotiating with Ford to switch over to Ford, and part of that deal was going to be getting time in a sports car. And he dominates this race for the most part. Part of the Mickey Thompson series, you get the trucks, but you also get they have a car division. Pull up my my notes here. I think it's called the Ultralights, which, to be honest, I was never really a huge fan of those. You've got like VWs and Porsches and shit, and the cars just don't have the same suspension that the trucks do, and don't really handle the same way, and just don't look that cool. Right. They're the Ultra Stocks. You get the Super 1600s, which are kind of dune buggy type vehicles. And really the biggest thing I can say about that is all about Mitch Mustard. Mitch Mustard has one of the coolest names I've seen in racing.
That sounds fake.
It's Mitch Mustard is a real person, and turns out 30 years later he was actually still racing, but in the NHRA Super Comp Series. He was actually winning races as late as 2019. And then the other two classes are the ATVs and the motocross bikes, which we'll get into those as the race, as we get into later in the race. So we got Marty Reed and Bob Ramsey on commentary. This episode is the full episode with all the commercials and everything. So got those to talk about as well. Awesome. You've got heat races there's 3 heat races for the trucks and then a couple for the other divisions. There's only 8 trucks in the field. The big story here was Walker Evans, who is another off-road legend. He needed to win all of his heats and win the race to have a chance to beat Robbie Gordon for the championship. Turns out he doesn't do that. Really, the race is a battle with Robbie Gordon and Ivan Stewart. At the end, turns out Ivan ends up winning. But we'll get to that. Let's see. We start off with the heat race, which is, these trucks beat and bang. Body panels are always flying off. There's usually at least 1 or 2 rollovers throughout the race, so there's a lot of action. And they're kind of like short track racing. There's multiple heat races. There's only a couple laps with each one of them, so it's really quick and moves fast.
I just want to add that these Toyota paint schemes on these trucks are beautiful. It's one of my all-time favorite.
That Toyota truck is absolutely gorgeous, and that was going to be one of the things I mentioned as far as commercials. That's fine. It's a good segment. The Toyotas themselves, I think the '89 Toyotas, A, the paint schemes were great, and B, the trucks themselves, both the race trucks and the factory trucks, were way more modern looking than their counterparts, the S10s and the Rangers and stuff like that. Because the trucks just were stylized. They were like 3 or 4 years ahead of time as far as truck styling goes. And it's so interesting to see the advertising on this type of race versus NASCAR. You get Quaker State in there as an American brand, but really the only ads were Toyotas, and there was one for a VW dealership that was more like a local VW dealer hosted by a crazy car salesman who's just screaming the whole time about blowing out these VWs. So that's my Toyota pitch. This whole episode's all about Toyota. But other commercials, you get a couple Rolling Stones Budweiser commercials because 1989 Budweiser sponsored the Steel Wheels tour. So you get a couple little Rolling Stones mini music videos. There also are a series of commercials featuring a dad and son, where the son calls out his dad for stealing cable, which is some real cop collar shit. And I would disown my son if he did that. I don't care if the kid was 5, like this kid was.
That's a trip to the woodshed right there.
Do not try to make me feel guilty for stealing cable, you little shit. You wouldn't be able to watch Nickelodeon or any other bullshit you want to watch. Exactly. So shut your mouth. And that brings us to later on in the race. I mean, the track itself, like I said, is more of a motocross style track. Much like the Super Off-Road game, there's a section of the track with 2 completely separate lanes. You can drive through the whoops or jump through a couple different doubles, and I think it's interesting to see guys take the different lines. Early on in the heat race, you see legend Roger Mears, brother Rick Mears, and father of Casey Mears. He ends up rolling his truck in the heat race, but ends up coming back for a good finish. There's a local. His name is Rob McCochran, who they're talking about how he has back spasms throughout the race, but he's still battling really hard. Later on in the race, he ends up battling Robbie Gordon for second place. He finally gets it and completely biffs it and rolls the truck all by himself. I always love to see that, guys just completely choking. As far as the ultralights and the dune buggy classes, there isn't really a ton to say about those. Like I said, the racing on those isn't quite as good as the trucks. The suspension's not as good. Mitch Mustard, loved hearing that name. He screamed over and over again. The dirt bikes, I think they were the ultralight class. They actually race the track backwards, which makes sense because if you look at the jumps themselves, the jumps are all pretty mellow, and with dirt bikes, you could hit the backside of them and get a little more air. Now, in saying that, if you are a person who ever rode motocross or ever rode BMX, you know that jumping shit to flat sucks. It's harder to control your bike. It slows you down. And like, if you're a dirt bike fan, this type of racing absolutely is horrible and sucks to watch. Now, Jeremy McGrath wins this race, like the Jeremy McGrath.
Very
and
young.
He was like 19, 20. I mean, he wasn't even a pro yet in AMA or anything. And to show you how much this race means to his career, it isn't even mentioned in his Wikipedia. Not one line of it. Other motocross guys who ended up having, full motocross careers, Talon Voland and Ryan Hughes, who both still to this day in the motocross industry. And yeah, like I said, there's the ATV class as well. Here's my hot take. I've never liked ATVs. Not since I was a kid. I grew up in a family that rode motocross and did a lot of trail riding. And my grandfather always told me that, we lived in a very rural part of New York. You could ride your bike all the way up to like New Hampshire and Vermont if you wanted to through certain trail sections. But he said when ATVs became popular, certain sections of the trails would get closed off because they were bigger vehicles and they fucked up the land more. So landowners would ban people from passing through their property. So that's one of the reasons. Two, ATVs, I feel like they're, if you're too scared to ride a dirt bike, you get an ATV. They're not as nimble. They can't jump as fast. They can't do tricks. These ones, you got some Yamaha blasters that have stupid fake teeth on the front and just look goofy as shit. I hate the ATVs. You could skip right past the ATV section. You miss nothing. And yeah, the race itself, the main event, Robbie Gordon and Ivan Stewart have a really great battle where Ivan just outclasses him and passes him clean, and then takes off. Like I said, you've got Rob McCochran and Robbie Gordon battling for second place, which Robbie ends up winning or taking pretty handily after Rob biffs it. Just a really fun watch. This is only an hour-long program. You get 5 different classes of racing, and it's really just kind of a neat throwback to a time when motorsports were all over your TV, especially ESPN. This was before every type of sports game was getting broadcasts, and ESPN was really not so much desperate for a cheap program because this time, 89, 90, they already were pretty big in the sports world, but they still needed stuff on their TV, and they had a lot of different motorsports. Other than this stuff, they had Thursday Night Thunder, monster trucks, any type of motorcycle racing you can think of. Just lots of racing programming, and this is one of those many shows that you can watch.
It was definitely before the era of the talking head kind of pundit show
100%
thing that fills up time now, and before ESPN 2 as well.
So yeah, pretty easy watch, and like I said, I don't think you guys got through much of it, but what were your thoughts on what you saw?
I've got it on in the background on mute right now, so that's
cool.
Listen, y'all, we picked this video kind of late. I didn't get a chance to finish it. We're recording earlier than we normally do. This week is very thrown together last minute, so.
Oh yeah, zero prep.
Well, thankfully we already have next week's video picked out, so that gives us plenty of time.
We do, yeah. I'll say I'm looking forward to watching it. I do love that truck series. The Mickey Thompson stuff has always been fascinating to me, and I've always found it interesting that off-road racing and that style of truck racing is something that is sort of a, lesser thought about entrance into short track racing and NASCAR racing and just, pavement racing. A lot of greats came from there. Of course, Jimmy Johnson, he was an off-road guy. Rick Mears, as you mentioned earlier, he's an off-road guy. And Robbie Gordon, of course. I consider him to be one of the greats. He just had, or could have been anyway. I think he just had too much of a temper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I wish there was an equivalent to this. And again, the Stadium Super Trucks are cool, but I'd love to see, a Monster Jam style touring series where they're back in these stadiums.
Sheldon Creed too was another guy who won.
Sheldon Creed, that's right.
A bunch of the Stadium Trucks. And like I said, Robbie Gordon started the Stadium Truck series because of his history in the off-road trucks. And I've been to one of those races. I went to one at Mid-Ohio. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Cool. As part of their NASCAR weekend. So it's fun. It's not quite the same thing as the off-road. I wish I had found a better video. These guys raced at the LA Coliseum, and they actually went up and down the grandstands and drove through the pillars when they ran there. So, that's cool. That's such a cool thing to see. But yeah, that's the off-road series. Check that out, and I might be doing some more off-road stuff with monster trucks later on. Who knows? These guys have got me inspired to do some more stuff. So stay tuned.
He inspired himself, y'all.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You give this guy a thumbs up and he runs with it, So,
yeah, we'll see.
Pretty soon, Truelove and I will be off the show, and it's just going to be whatever Brien wants to do. I was about to say a big cuss right there, and then a bunch of children walked by, so I got freaked out. So, a $6 word was about to come out, and we stopped it. So,
well, shit. So yeah, that brings us to the conclusion, and like mentioned early in the show, we are at Richmond this week for the Cup Series, and Texas for IndyCar and trucks, and what are you guys all looking forward to this weekend?
I'm looking forward to Larry Mack being in the booth, y'all.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to going to Thompson for the icebreaker. Hopefully the weather holds out, but that's like the first major weekend of racing up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, I got to look and see. I know most of the local tracks are opening up in April. It's still too cold. Like, I wouldn't want to go to anything this weekend. But,
yeah, we're going to have some Atlanta last week type weather, I think. It's going to be no warmer than 45, but that's damn near summer for Connecticut modified racing. But big open modified show on Sunday. The Pass Tour is up here as well. It should be a pretty decent car count. And a bunch of other divisions. It's a fun event. Thompson's an amazing track. Cup actually raced there many, many moons ago. I want to say Bobby Isaac won there, but I'm not 100% on that. But definitely an old Winston Cup track and a legendary hallowed space for modified racing up here in New England. But I'm looking forward to that and watching Richmond on my phone simultaneously. So
nice. Well, hopefully the weather treats you better than what I suffered through last weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'm bringing my big jacket for this one.
Bring your big jacket and your sunscreen.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah, as far as Richmond goes, I got nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not going to be an entertaining race, I don't think. But I guess we'll see.
I
always hold out hope, but we'll just see what happens.
But yeah, I honestly I think Richmond is. It's a really fun track to go to. Like, I like being at the facility, and I even like watching races in person there, which just doesn't translate to TV that well. It's like Loudon, I think.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Richmond this weekend, but Jesus Christ, it didn't work out. So I'm kind of bummed on that. I'm sure it's much better in person.
Yeah. Little pro tip: they have these like the college area. I forget what they used to call it, but it's like this open seating area. Not allowed to bring alcohol in. You absolutely can. You can bring your own alcohol in, but you can't bring your own alcohol in. But they have a concession stand that sells like $1 and $2 beers and $4 chicken strips and all that. It's like going to a short track, and it's open seating. There's no like actual bleachers or grandstands or anything like that. You're just in this big patio with like tall bar tables and all that. And y'all, that is the most relaxed I've ever been at a race. Sold out. You can stretch your arms out. You're not crammed in with people. And Richmond's a short track, so you can see everything. So it's in turn 4. I forget what they call it. It had some dumb, like, Moonshiner's Alley or some shit like that, But I would recommend doing that if you are looking for a cheap ticket. It's also the cheapest ticket you can get at Richmond. Little heads up. So yeah, if you don't mind maybe being around some college guys, then that's your spot. And there's no better place to sit at Richmond. So little word of advice for you.
I'll take your word for it because I sure as shit ain't going back this year.
Yeah,
I might try to do the summer one since I can't go this weekend. We'll see.
Well, they're both day races now, right?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks, man. Because like the Saturday night race at Richmond, that's something, man.
Right.
Yeah.
That early fall, it's still pretty warm down there. Historically, when they did the race at night in the fall as part of the playoffs, and man, that's about as comfortable as it can get outside.
Yeah. Well, now the second Richmond race is at the end of July, so.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I'm already planning on trying to go to the Atlanta race in July, so that will cover my going to fucking southern races in the summer.
Sweating your ass off and dying.
Yeah. I already got my tickets for that. So.
By the way, listeners, if you have any recommendations for places we should go, let us know. I'm always down to try out a track that I've never been to, or if there's something I should know about or something we should know about places that we've been talking about that a fan would want to know. Let us know. We'll happily pass the information along. Again, this is all about communication with you guys, and half of that is at the track. So.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Meet Me in Applebee's.
Rob's pretty good, guys. Shit.
Rob's got a flight to catch in the next few minutes. Other than the flight interruptions, I think it was a fun episode. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and on Twitter at Meet Me at Dubbies. Even though I have not been incredibly active on Twitter, the IG is moving pretty good. Speedway screens on all the social medias, speedwaytsj.etsy.com, and that is it for my plugs.
Snake Mountain _Truelove on IG, and Etsy is Snake Mountain Goods.
You can find me on Instagram at robmotes_unofficial. And of course, my band is called These Wild Plains. We're chilling right now, so you won't see much from us until later on in the year. But please give us a follow and buy a fucking camo trucker hat or a koozie or something.
Are you going to tour this summer, Rob?
We'll be going out in the fall. And as soon as I have dates, we'll probably do some more then, but rest assured, if we're playing shows, I'll be talking about it on here, and you guys will be the first to know. And again, I'm sure we'll see each other in Charlotte this year, whether it's at the Thirsty Beaver or it's at the racetrack. So,
yeah.
Well, yeah. And does the Denver airport have anything else they want to say, or they're just going to play Night Fever? It just sounds like Night Fever, folks. So yeah, thanks for putting up with me, guys. I really appreciate it. We wanted to bring you fresh content on our regular scheduled day is now Wednesdays. Episodes are dropping on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a little announcement we can make before we shove off. New episodes on Wednesdays. So.
Well, I think we already released the last two on Wednesdays anyway, so I feel like they already kind of got that figured out. So
I think the Instagram still says Thursdays. So
no, I think it got changed. I'm pretty sure it got changed. Yeah, it got changed. One of us did it. So yeah.
It wasn't me.
One of us did it. I don't know which one, but somehow it said that.
Somebody's beer fingers got in there and got it taken care of. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate it. And I guess we'll see y'all next week on Wednesday.
Yep. Later, y'all.
See ya.